The Galactic Empress was feared in every corner of the known galaxy. Her name alone could silence councils and stop wars. Entire species bowed the moment her image appeared on a screen. She ruled from a floating palace that drifted above a golden capital world, a city built by conquered empires and paid for with fear. No one spoke unless spoken to. No one questioned her will. And no one ever imagined seeing her weak. On this night, the palace was quiet. The Empress stepped onto her private balcony, high above the glowing city. The stars burned softly in the distance. This balcony was one of the few places where she allowed herself to be alone. No guards. No servants. No cameras active. Just cold air and silence. She wore her ceremonial armor, light but strong, shaped with symbols of power and victory. It had never failed her before. As she leaned against the balcony rail, a sharp pull stopped her movement. She frowned. She tried to step back. She could not. The lower edge of her armor had slipped between two metal bars of the rail. It caught tightly, locking her in place. At first, she pulled harder, annoyed more than worried. The metal did not bend. The rail did not break. The armor did not move. Her annoyance turned to concern. She twisted her body slightly. The armor dug deeper into the rail. Pain flashed through her side. The Empress froze. She was trapped. She looked around quickly. No guards were nearby. No drones floated in the air. This balcony had been cleared by her order. She opened her mouth to call for help, then stopped. If anyone saw her like this, it would spread across the galaxy in hours. The Empress of all systems stuck like a careless child. Her grip tightened on the rail. Her breathing slowed, trained by centuries of control. She tried again, carefully this time, lifting the armor piece by piece. It was no use. The rail held her firmly. For the first time in over 300 years, fear touched her mind. Then she heard footsteps. They were light. Slow. Not the heavy steps of guards or nobles. These steps were careful, almost unsure. The Empress felt her blood turn cold. Someone was coming. Around the corner of the balcony entrance walked a human. He was a maintenance worker, wearing a plain gray uniform marked with the palace symbol. His hands held a small tool case. He had clearance only for lower levels. He was not supposed to be here. He stopped the moment he saw her. His eyes widened. His mouth opened slightly. He did not kneel. He did not bow. He simply stood there, frozen. The most powerful being in the galaxy was stuck in a balcony rail. The human's mind raced. He knew the laws. Looking directly at the Empress without permission could mean death. Speaking without command could mean execution. Laughing, even by accident, would mean his entire family erased from records. And yet, the scene before him did not match the stories. She was not towering. She was not untouchable. She was trapped. For half a second, a laugh pushed up in his chest. He swallowed it down with force. The Empress saw everything in his face. The shock. The confusion. The fear. And something worse. Amusement. "Do not move," she said sharply. Her voice was calm, but tight. Controlled, but strained. The human nodded once. He stared at the floor, heart pounding. Every part of him screamed to run. Another part screamed to help. Humans were like that. They acted before thinking. "You will forget what you saw," the Empress continued. "You will turn around and leave." Now. The human hesitated. The Empress felt anger rise. How dare he pause? How dare a human hesitate before her command? Then the balcony made a soft cracking sound. Both of them froze. A thin line split across the rail near where her armor was stuck. The pressure was changing. The structure was under stress. If it broke the wrong way, she would fall. The Empress looked down. The city lights far below seemed suddenly very distant. "Human," she said slowly, her pride burning with every word. "Look at me." He did. Their eyes met. In that moment, the galaxy's strongest ruler understood a terrifying truth. Her life now depended on a human who had nothing to lose but everything to fear. And the human understood something too. If he laughed, he would die. If he ran, she might fall. The human stood still, his back straight, his hands tight around the small tool case. His heart was beating so loud he was sure the Empress could hear it. The night air felt cold on his skin, but sweat ran down his neck. He had worked in the palace for 3 years, fixing lights, rails, and doors. Never once had he been this close to her. Never like this. The Empress watched him closely. She did not shout. She did not threaten. That made it worse. Her eyes were sharp, searching his face for weakness, for mockery, for danger. She had ended wars with less effort than it took to hold her body still now. "Do not speak," she said. The human nodded again. He lowered his gaze, but not fully. He needed to see the rail, the armor, the crack in the metal. His mind worked fast, the way humans were known for. He measured distance without tools. He judged weight without numbers. The balcony creaked again, a low sound, like something tired of holding on. The Empress felt it through her boots. Her fingers tightened on the rail. She hated this. She hated the silence. She hated that a human saw her like this. But more than that, she hated that she was afraid. "Turn around," she ordered. "Walk away. Call no one." The human's lips pressed together. He took one small step back, then stopped. His eyes flicked to the crack in the rail. It was longer now. Not by much. Enough. "If you leave," he said softly, before he could stop himself, "the rail might break." The words hung in the air. The Empress stared at him. No one spoke to her like that. Not in that tone. Not with concern instead of fear. Her anger flared, sharp and bright. "You dare speak?" she said. The human swallowed. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean." Silence. He went quiet at once. His hands shook slightly, but he did not hide them. The Empress noticed. Humans were strange. They showed weakness, but still acted. Seconds passed. Each one felt heavy. Another small crack sounded. The Empress closed her eyes for a moment. A single moment. In her mind, she saw the headlines spreading across the stars. The Empress falls. The Empress breaks. The Empress was weak. When she opened her eyes again, her voice was lower. "If you help me," she said, "you will never speak of this." The human looked up, surprised. "I wouldn't," he said quickly. "I swear." "I did not ask for promises," she replied. "I asked for obedience." He nodded. "Yes. Of course." He stepped closer, slowly, as if approaching a wild animal. Every movement was careful. The Empress tensed, ready to strike if he touched her without permission. "Do not touch me," she warned. "I won't," he said. "Not yet." He crouched near the rail, setting his tool case down. He opened it with shaking fingers. Inside were simple tools. Nothing made for royal armor. Nothing made for saving an empress. "This armor," he said carefully. "It's strong. Too strong. The rail is weaker." "I know that," she snapped. He nodded. "If you pull, the rail breaks first. If the rail breaks, you fall." She said nothing. He took a slow breath. "If we lift the armor piece just a little, and I widen the rail just enough, it might slide free." "Might," she repeated. "Yes," he admitted. "Might." The Empress looked down again at the city far below. Then back at him. "You have one chance," she said. "Fail, and your species will remember your name for the wrong reason." The human felt his legs weaken. He forced himself to stay steady. "Understood." He reached for the rail, stopping inches away. He looked up at her, waiting. She hesitated, then gave a short nod. He worked fast but gentle. He used a small lever tool, applying pressure little by little. Sweat dripped from his face. His hands hurt. The rail groaned in protest. The Empress held her breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the armor shifted. Just a little. The Empress felt it and gasped before she could stop herself. The sound echoed in the quiet night. The human froze. It moved, he whispered. Yes, she said, barely audible. Again. He adjusted his grip and tried once more. The crack widened. Alarms deep inside the palace began to hum, faint but rising. Security systems were waking up. The Empress realized time was running out. And so did the human. One wrong move now, and this moment would not end in silence. It would end in disaster. The hum of the palace systems grew louder, a low sound that vibrated through the balcony floor. It was not an alarm yet, but it was close. The kind of sound that warned trained guards to get ready. The Empress felt it in her bones. She had ordered this balcony cleared, but machines did not understand pride. They only understood pressure, damage, and risk. The human heard it too. His hands paused on the rail. His eyes lifted to her face, searching for permission, for anger, for fear. He found all three, tightly controlled behind her calm mask. "We don't have much time," he said quietly. "I am aware," the Empress replied. The wind shifted, brushing against her cloak. The fabric pulled slightly, and the armor pressed again into the rail. Pain shot through her side. She clenched her jaw but made no sound. Pain was nothing new to her. Being seen like this was worse. The human adjusted his position. He placed one foot firmly against the base of the rail for balance. He took another tool from his case, smaller and thinner. "This will make noise," he warned. "Not much, but some." "Do it," she said. "Now." He worked carefully, sliding the tool into the narrow gap he had created. The metal resisted, then slowly bent outward. The rail groaned, a sharp sound cutting through the night. The Empress's fingers tightened. Her muscles burned as she held herself perfectly still. "Lift your left side," the human said. "Just a little." She hesitated. No one told the Empress how to move. Ever. But she did it. Slowly. Carefully. The armor scraped against the rail. For a terrible second, it caught again. The human's heart stopped. "Wait," he said quickly. "Don't pull." She froze. The hum of the systems grew louder. Lights flickered along the palace walls. "Again," he said. "But softer." She shifted her weight by a fraction. The armor slid. Then, suddenly, she was free. The Empress stumbled forward one step, then caught herself. The balcony rail snapped back into place with a sharp clang. The human jumped back, breathing hard. Silence fell between them, broken only by the distant city sounds far below. She was standing. Not trapped. Alive. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The Empress looked down at her armor, then at the bent rail. Then she looked at the human. He stood with his head lowered, chest rising and falling fast, waiting for judgment. She could end him now. One word. One gesture. His life would disappear as if it never mattered. The thought passed through her mind, and kept going. Instead, something unexpected happened. She laughed. It was soft at first, like a breath that escaped without permission. Then it grew, low and quiet, filled with disbelief. The human looked up, stunned. No one in the Empire had heard the Empress laugh in generations. "You almost laughed," she said, looking directly at him now. He froze. Then, very slowly, he nodded. "Yes," he admitted. "I did." "Why did you stop?" she asked. He thought for a moment. "Because you're a person. Not a story." The words struck her harder than any weapon. The palace hum stopped suddenly. The systems calmed. Somewhere far away, guards stood down, unaware of how close history had come to changing. The Empress stepped closer to the human. He stiffened but did not move away. "You touched me," she said. "Yes," he replied. "To help. That alone is death," she said. "I know," he answered. She studied him again. No fear now. No pride. Just honesty. Humans were strange creatures. Weak in body, strong in will. Dangerous not because of weapons, but because they acted when others waited. There are cameras, she said slowly. Hidden ones? The human's eyes widened. They saw this? Yes. His face fell. Then, I'm sorry. For what? She asked. For you, he said. People will use this. She turned away, looking out at the stars. They will try, she said. They always do. She faced him again. You will be called before the Galactic Court. His breath caught. To be judged? To speak, she said. That will frighten them more. Before he could respond, distant footsteps echoed from inside the palace. Guards were finally arriving. The Empress straightened her armor, every inch the ruler once more. Her voice became cold, powerful. You saw nothing tonight, she said loudly, for the walls to hear. The human bowed his head. But as the guards stepped onto the balcony, the Empress added one final thing, so softly only he could hear it. You saved my life. The galaxy does not forget debts forever. And in that moment, the human understood. The night on the balcony was over. But its consequences were just beginning. The Galactic Court chamber was vast and cold, carved from black crystal and floating above a sea of stars. Delegates from hundreds of worlds filled the curved seats, their shapes and colors forming a living wall of power. Screens hovered in the air, each one showing symbols of ancient authority. This was the place where wars were approved and civilizations judged. At the center stood the Empress's throne. She sat tall and still, her expression calm, her armor repaired and polished. No sign remained of the night on the balcony. To the galaxy, she looked untouchable once again. To her right stood the human. He wore a simple uniform, freshly cleaned but plain. No rank marks. No weapons. No protection. Every eye in the chamber turned toward him. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. Some looked hungry for blood. Whispers spread like fire. A human? Why is he here? Is this the one from the balcony? The Empress raised one hand. Silence fell instantly. This session is called under my authority, she said. You will listen. The court obeyed, but tension filled the air. Many had already seen the leaked images. Blurred, incomplete, but clear enough to cause damage. The Empress near a balcony rail. A human close to her. Too close. An alien noble stood. Tall, thin, with skin like polished stone. His voice echoed across the chamber. Your Radiance, he said. The galaxy is disturbed. Rumors spread faster than truth. We demand explanation. You demand nothing, the Empress replied calmly. You may ask. The noble bowed stiffly. Then I ask. Why is a human standing beside you in this sacred chamber? The Empress did not answer at once. She looked at the human. Speak, she said. The human felt every muscle in his body tighten. This was worse than fear. This was exposure. He stepped forward one pace. His voice shook at first, but he did not stop. I was doing my job, he said. Maintenance. Laughter rippled through parts of the chamber. A human claims duty? Another delegate mocked. Bold. The Empress lifted a finger. The laughter died. Continue, she said. The human took a breath. I found the Empress in danger. I helped her. That's all. That is not all. The stone-skinned noble snapped. Humans are not permitted to touch royal blood. I didn't touch power, the human said quietly. I touched a rail. The chamber went still. Some delegates hissed in anger. Others leaned forward, listening closely. You show no fear, said a winged delegate. Why? The human looked around the chamber. Because fear doesn't fix things, he said. Action does. Murmurs spread again, louder this time. The Empress watched them all carefully. She saw something she had not expected. The court was divided. Not between species. Between ideas. One believed power must never be seen as weak. The other saw strength in survival. You broke protocol, the stone noble said. For this, the human must be punished. Punished for saving a life? The Empress asked. For humiliating the throne, the noble replied. The Empress stood. The sound of it echoed like thunder. You mistake truth for humiliation, she said. I was trapped. I was in danger. This human acted while others would have waited for permission. That is the problem. Another voice called out. Humans act without order. Yes, the Empress agreed. That is their strength. Shock spread across the chamber. She stepped down from the throne, walking slowly toward the human. He remained still, eyes forward. This human, she said, saw me not as a symbol, but as a living being. That is rare in this chamber. The stone noble raised his voice. If this spreads, rebellion will rise. Enemies will strike. They already are, the Empress replied. A screen flared to life. Images filled the air. Border systems burning. Fleets moving without command. Messages of challenge and mockery spreading across networks. They sensed weakness, the Empress said. And they moved. The chamber erupted in noise. The Empress raised her hand again. Enough, she said. This human did not cause this. Fear did. She turned to the human. You will remain under my protection, she declared. Gasps filled the chamber. You will speak when asked, she continued. And you will stand as proof that courage does not belong to one species. The human's heart pounded. He bowed his head, unsure what to say. As the court argued and shouted, one truth became clear. The night on the balcony had cracked more than metal. It had cracked the idea of untouchable power. And somewhere beyond the stars, forces were already moving, ready to test what the Empress had revealed. The galaxy was watching. And it would not wait long. The attack began without warning. In the middle of the court's arguments, the chamber lights flickered. The black crystal walls dimmed, then flashed red. A deep alarm echoed through the space, sharp and urgent. Delegates froze in their seats. The Galactic Court had been attacked only twice in recorded history. Both times, empires had fallen. The Empress did not move. She felt the shift instantly, the way a storm changes the air before it strikes. Shields, she commanded. The word barely left her mouth when the first explosion hit the outer barrier. The chamber shook. Several delegates cried out as the floor trembled beneath them. Star maps on the hovering screens broke into static. The human felt the blast through his chest. His instincts screamed at him to move, to run, to act. He did not wait for orders. He grabbed the Empress's arm. Down, he said. Gasps filled the chamber. Before anyone could react, another blast hit, closer this time. The shockwave threw both of them to the floor as pieces of crystal rained down. Guards rushed forward too late. The Empress rolled, protecting her head. The human moved without thinking, placing himself between her and the falling debris. The Empress noticed. The rebels had chosen their moment well. The court was full. Security was divided. Pride had slowed response times. Alien warships uncloaked outside the station, their weapons already firing. This is the cost of weakness. A voice echoed through the chamber speakers. The throne will fall tonight. The Empress rose to one knee, her eyes burning. Cowards, she said. You hide behind chaos. Another explosion rocked the station. Part of the ceiling collapsed. Smoke filled the air. Delegates screamed, some fleeing, others frozen in fear. The guards shouted orders, but many hesitated, waiting for full authorization. The human did not. He pulled the Empress toward a side corridor. This way, he said. The support tunnels. She hesitated for half a second. Then she followed. They ran through narrow halls as alarms screamed around them. Lights flashed. The station groaned like a wounded beast. Behind them, guards fought to contain the damage. Ahead, danger waited. Blaster fire struck the walls. Rebel soldiers poured into the corridors, armored and ruthless. The human skidded to a stop, eyes scanning fast. No weapons, he muttered. He spotted a fallen guard. He grabbed the weapon from the floor, checked the charge, and handed it to the Empress. She stared at it. Humans do not arm rulers, she said. Tonight, he replied. Rulers survive. She took it. The rebels charged. The human fired first. He did not aim for glory. He aimed for effect. He shot lights, doors, supports. The corridor plunged into darkness. Smoke and sparks filled the space. The rebels shouted in confusion. The Empress watched, stunned. He was not trained like her guards. He was not strong like her soldiers. But he thought differently. Faster. Freer. A blast grazed his shoulder. He grunted but did not stop. He kept moving, pulling her forward. They reached a controlled junction. The human slammed his hand onto the panel, overriding safety locks. What are you doing? She demanded. Closing the wing, he said. If they can't reach the core, they can't win. You'll trap hundreds, she warned. They chose their side, he said quietly. The doors sealed behind them with a heavy clang. Silence followed, broken only by distant explosions. They stood alone in the dim corridor. The Empress looked at him then, really looked at him. His uniform was torn. His shoulder bled. His hands shook from shock and effort. You disobeyed orders, she said. Yes, he replied. I always do when orders get people killed. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she spoke, her voice steady and clear. You saved me again. The station shuddered, then steadied. Reports flowed in through the air, data streams forming above them. Rebel ships were retreating. Guards had regrouped. The attack was failing. The humans sagged against the wall, breathing hard. Outside, across the galaxy, the attack was being watched. Recorded. Shared. The image of a human standing between the Empress and destruction spread faster than any rumor. Back in the court chamber, fires burned, but the throne still stood. The Empress straightened, her presence filling the corridor once more. This changes everything, she said. For them, the human replied. Not for us. She turned to him, eyes sharp but thoughtful. From this moment, she said, humans will no longer be seen as servants of the Empire. He looked at her, surprised. They will be seen as allies, she finished. The human gave a tired smile. About time, he said. Far beyond the station, defeated rebels fled into the dark. But the galaxy had already learned something far more dangerous than fear. Humans did not wait for permission. They acted. Smoke still drifted through damaged halls. Burn marks stained the crystal walls of the court chamber. Crews worked in silence, repairing what they could. The rebellion had failed, but its message had been heard across the galaxy. The Empress stood at the highest observation platform, looking out at the stars. Her posture was calm, but her thoughts were not. Power had always been clear to her. Command, obedience, fear. Tonight had shattered that balance. Footsteps approached behind her. The human stopped a respectful distance away. His shoulder was bandaged. His uniform replaced with a clean one, still plain, still without rank. You should be resting, she said without turning. I can rest later, he replied. You asked to see me? She nodded slowly. Yes, she said. I did. She turned to face him. For the first time since the balcony, there were no guards nearby. No cameras. Just open space and distant stars. The galaxy is unstable, she began. Several systems openly questioned my rule after the attack. That was going to happen, the human said. People test limits. Exactly, she replied. And I intend to redefine them. She lifted her hand. A hologram formed between them, showing star systems, trade routes, borders. Many flickered red. For centuries, she continued, this empire ruled through fear. It worked. Until it didn't. The human studied the image. Fear breaks, he said. Eventually. Yes, the Empress agreed. Humans understand that better than most. She dismissed the hologram and stepped closer. You acted without waiting, she said. You chose outcomes over rules. That saved lives. It saved me. I didn't think, he admitted. I just moved. That is precisely why it mattered, she said. Silence fell between them. Because of you, she continued, the court is divided. Some see me as weak. Others see me as changed. And you? The human asked carefully. She considered the question. I see clearly for the first time, she said. Power without trust cannot last. She straightened, her voice growing formal. I am issuing a decree, she said. Effective immediately. The human stiffened slightly. Humans will no longer be classified as subordinate labor across imperial systems, she said. They will serve as partners, advisors, and defenders. By choice. The human's eyes widened. That will cause problems. Yes, she said calmly. It already is. A screen flickered to life beside them. Alien leaders shouted in protest. Threats were made. Trade sanctions promised. Fleets repositioned. They fear change, the human said. They fear humans, the Empress corrected. Because humans remind them that power can be questioned. She turned the screen off. I am naming you Imperial Envoy to the human worlds, she said. The words hung heavy in the air. The human stared at her. Me? You, she said. You speak without fear. You act without waiting. And you do not worship titles. I'm a maintenance worker, he said. You were, she replied. He hesitated. People will try to kill me. They already will, she said. This changes nothing. He exhaled slowly. Then I'll need to speak honestly. I expect nothing less, she said. Another silence followed, deeper this time. Why me? He asked. The Empress looked back toward the stars. Because, she said, when I was trapped, you did not see an Empress. She turned to him again. You saw someone who needed help. The station lights dimmed briefly as emergency power shifted back to normal. Life was returning. System stabilized. Tomorrow, she continued, the galaxy will wake to a new order. And if they refuse? The human asked. The Empress's eyes hardened slightly. Then they will learn that humanity is not weak, she said. And that I am no longer alone. The human nodded slowly. I'll do it, he said. She inclined her head, a gesture few had ever received. As he turned to leave, she spoke again. There is one more thing. He stopped. The balcony, she said. It will be rebuilt. Yes, he said. Stronger rails? No rails, she replied. He looked back, confused. No barriers, she said. No false safety. He smiled faintly. That sounds like a human design. She allowed herself a small smile in return. Across the galaxy, messages spread. Laws changed. Old systems trembled. New alliances formed. The Empire was still standing. But it was no longer ruled by fear alone. And that frightened the galaxy more than any weapon ever had. The galaxy did not sleep after the decree. Across thousands of worlds, screens lit up with the same message. Translations spread in seconds. The Empress's seal appeared, followed by her calm, steady voice. She spoke of partnership. Of choice. Of humans standing beside, not below. Some worlds reacted with hope. Others with anger. Many with fear. Fear of change was still fear. On the capital world, the rebuilt balcony stood open to the sky. The rails were gone, just as the Empress had ordered. The night air moved freely now, cool and honest. The city lights below shimmered like a living sea. The human stood near the edge, hands resting on the smooth stone. He wore a new uniform now, still simple, still without decorations, but its meaning had changed. He was no longer invisible. Footsteps approached. The Empress joined him, her presence strong but no longer distant. She did not stand apart. She stood beside him. "You could have asked for protection," she said. "A title. Guards." He shook his head. "That would make people stop listening." She nodded. "You learn quickly." Below them, ships moved in steady lines. Trade resumed. Patrols shifted. Life continued, but not unchanged. "There will be resistance," the human said. "Some will never accept this." "I know," the Empress replied. "That is why you matter." He looked at her. "I didn't plan to change an empire." "No one ever does," she said. "That is why it happens." A pause settled between them, comfortable now. "May I ask something?" he said. "You already have," she replied. He smiled slightly. "Why didn't you punish me?" "That first night. On the balcony." She looked out at the stars for a long moment. "Because," she said slowly, "in that moment I remembered what it felt like to be small." He turned to her, surprised. "I was not born Empress," she continued. "Once, long ago, I was helpless too. The galaxy taught me to hide that. You reminded me I no longer had to." The wind shifted, carrying distant sounds of the city. "People will tell this story," he said. "They'll laugh. Or twist it." "Yes," she said. "Let them." She faced him fully. "Power that cannot survive laughter does not deserve fear," she said. The human nodded, understanding. A signal chimed softly from his wrist device. Messages waiting. Worlds requesting talks. Humans and aliens both. "Duty calls," he said. She inclined her head. "Go. Speak. Break rules if you must." He turned to leave, then stopped. "One more thing," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "Careful. You are becoming bold." He met her gaze. "If you ever feel trapped again," he said, "call me." For a heartbeat, the Empress was silent. Then she laughed. Openly this time. "I will," she said. As he walked away, the Empress remained on the balcony, alone but not isolated. The stars above felt closer now, less heavy. Across the galaxy, the story spread. Not as a joke. Not as shame. As a lesson. The strongest ruler in the galaxy had been trapped. Not by metal, but by pride. And a human had shown her the way out. From that day on, empires thought twice before underestimating humanity. Not because humans were the strongest. Not because they were the smartest. But because when faced with fear, humans chose to act. And sometimes, that was enough to change the fate of the stars. Weeks passed after the decree. The galaxy adjusted, slowly and painfully. Some systems accepted the new order without protest. Others resisted in silence. A few openly defied it. Old alliances cracked. New ones formed in places no one expected. The Empress watched it all from her throne, calm and patient. The human traveled constantly now. He moved between worlds, not as a conqueror, not as a ruler, but as a voice. He spoke to alien leaders who had never allowed a human to sit at their tables. He listened more than he spoke. He told the same simple truth again and again. "Fear builds walls," he said. "Trust builds bridges." Some laughed at him. Some threatened him. Some listened. On one distant world, a council refused him entry. He waited outside for 2 days without complaint. On the 3rd day, they invited him in. On another world, an alien commander challenged him, asking what right humans had to stand beside empires that ruled for centuries. The human answered calmly. "We survived without empires," he said. "That's why." Stories followed him. Not polished ones. Not heroic ones. Simple stories. About a human who helped without orders. About an empress who chose honesty over fear. About a night when power slipped and did not fall. Back on the capital world, the balcony became a symbol. Visitors came to see it. Not because it was beautiful, but because it was empty. No rails. No barriers. Just open space and stars. Some found it uncomfortable. Others found it freeing. The Empress returned there often. One evening, she stood alone, looking down at the city lights. She remembered the cold metal, the sudden fear, the sound of cracking rail. She remembered how close everything had come to ending. Footsteps sounded behind her. "You walk quietly," she said without turning. The human joined her side. "You listen better now." She allowed herself a small smile. "The galaxy still tests us," she said. "Border skirmishes. Political games. It always will," he replied. "That means it's alive." She studied him. He looked tired, older somehow, though only months had passed. "You could stop," she said. "Others can continue this work." He shook his head. "Not yet. People trust faces they recognize." She nodded, understanding. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "That night. Staying." He thought carefully. "Sometimes," he said. "But I'd regret leaving more." The wind moved around them, gentle and steady. "Power used to feel heavy," the Empress said. "Like something I had to carry alone." "And now?" he asked. "And now it feels shared," she said. "Which is strange." He smiled. "That's what humans do." A message alert chimed softly between them. News from the outer systems. A former rebel world had signed a treaty. Another had requested talks. Small steps. Real ones? The Empress looked at the stars again. "They will write history about this," she said. "They will argue who changed the galaxy. They'll get it wrong," the human said. She looked at him. "Why?" "Because it wasn't one person," he said. "It was a moment." She considered that. "Yes," she said finally. "A moment when fear failed." They stood in silence, no need for more words. Far across the galaxy, children heard the story for the first time. Not about battles. Not about fleets. About a ruler who got stuck. About a human who chose to help instead of laugh. It became a lesson, passed quietly from world to world. That strength does not mean never falling. That power does not mean standing alone. And that sometimes the fate of empires turns not on wars or weapons, but on one simple choice: to act.